Hopefully the good thoughts win. For me, I always have both. I have like the thing I believe, the good thing. That's the thing I believe. And then there's this thing. And I don't believe it, but it is there. It's always this thing and then this thing. It's become a category in my brain that I call, of course, but maybe. I'll give you an example. Okay, like of course, children who have nut allergies need to be protected. Of course. We have to segregate their food from nuts, have their medication available at all times, and anybody who manufactures or serves food needs to be aware of deadly nut allergies. Of course. But maybe if touching a nut kills you, you're supposed to die. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Jesus. I have a nephew who has that. I'd be devastated if something happened to him. But maybe, if we all just do this for 1 year, we're done with nut allergies forever. No, of course not. Of course, if you're fighting for your country and you get shot or hurt, it's a terrible tragedy. Of course. Of course. But maybe if you pick up a gun and go to another country and you get shot, it's not that weird. Maybe if you get shot by the dude you were just shooting at, it's a tiny bit your fault. Of course, slavery is the worst thing that ever happened. Listen, you all clapped for dead kids with the nuts. For kids dying from nuts, you applauded. So you're in this with me now, do you understand? You don't get to cherry pick. Those kids did nothing to you. Of course, slavery is the worst thing that ever happened. Of course it is. Every time it's happened. Black people in America, Jews in Egypt, every time a whole race of people has been enslaved, it's a terrible, horrible thing. Of course. But maybe every incredible human achievement in history was done with slaves. Every single thing where you go, how did they build those pyramids? They just threw human death and suffering at them until they were finished. How did we traverse the nation with a railroad so quickly? We just threw Chinese people in caves and blew them up and didn't give a shit what happened to them. There's no end to what you can do when you don't give a fuck about particular people. You can do anything. That's where human greatness comes from, is that we're shitty people, that we fuck others over. Even today, how do we have this amazing microtechnology? Because the factory where they're making these, they jump off the fucking roof because it's a nightmare in there. You really have a choice. You could have candles and horses and be a little kinder to each other, or let someone suffer immeasurably. Didn't matter, I was a child. But I'm not used to it because it's nice. There's like a pretty courtyard with flowers and a fountain with little marble boys pissing. I don't know. What is it with fountains? Like, all fountain sculptors are pedophiles, basically. You can't get a fountain made without... Can you make me a fountain? Yes, I'll get started right away. Oh, yes! Yes! It's finished! And it's just little boys pissing on the face of a Greek god that looks like him a lot. It's piss on me forever! Anyway, there's one of those in the courtyard of my building. And my first week in the building about a year ago, I went down to the Courtyard for the first time. And I didn't look too good, you know? It was a Sunday morning. That's my least presentable hour. There's a lot of, you know, just stains, just like, you know, food and me and whatever. And so I'm sitting there. So, shut up. Oh. Anyway, but so there I was. I'm sitting on the stone bench of this Courtyard and feeling a little out of place. You know, there's these fancy doormen and stuff. And then there's this guy looking at me. I notice he's looking at me from across the Courtyard. And he's all spiffy looking. He's got brown shoes and he's looking at me like, I could tell he was thinking I don't live in the building. He thinks I just wandered in off the street and sat in the Courtyard. And I could tell he's thinking of coming over and dealing with me on his own. And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, please do that. Yes, please, come on. And I'm trying to look even more gross, and I'm like pulling up my shirt. And then I see him go, oh no, that's not gonna do at all. And he comes over to me. And I'm like, I'm so excited to have this thing. The confrontation where I'm not wrong at all. And he thinks I am. So he comes over, says, excuse me, do you live in this building? And I said, no. Because why not start there? I said, no. He goes, well, then what are you doing here? And I said, I just need to rest. I'm having a hard time. He says, this is private property. And I said, well, I don't really believe in that. You know, just the worst things I could say from his point of view is basically all the things I was saying. And he goes, well, if you don't leave, I'm gonna talk to the doorman. I was like, can I just stay like 5 more hours? So he's, no, and he goes over to the doorman, and I see him talking about me to the doorman like this. And then I see the doorman going, oh no, that guy lives here. That's okay. And the look on his face, it was just so, it was this beautiful cocktail of anger and confusion. It's like I had invented a new way to hurt somebody's feelings. That's how excited I was. I always, like, there's this old lady in my neighborhood, and she's always walking her dog. She's always just, she's very old. She just stands there just being old. And the dog just fights gravity every day. Just the two of them, it's really, the dog's got a cloudy eye, and she's got a cloudy eye, and they just stand there looking at the street in 2 dimensions together. And she's always wearing like this sweater dress. I guess it was a sweater when she was like 5'10", but now it's just like this sweater, and her legs are a nightmare. They're just white with green streaks and bones sticking out, and her legs are awful. I saw a guy with no legs wheeling by, and he was like, ugh, no, thank you. I do not want those. I'd rather just have air down here like I have. Trying to look down at that shit. I see these two all the time. And I always look at them and I always think, God, I hope she dies first. I do! I hope she dies first for her sake. Because I don't want her to lose the dog. I don't think she'll be able to handle it. If the old lady dies first, I'm not worried about the dog. Because the dog doesn't even know about the old lady. This dog is aware of 3 inches around his head. He's living in 2-second increments. The second he's in and the one he just left is all he knows about. But if he dies, this lady, she's gonna be destroyed because this dog is all she has. And I know he's all she has because she has him. If she had one person in her life, she would not keep this piece of shit little dog. Even if just some young woman in her building one morning were to say, "Good morning, Gladys," she'd be like, "Oh, good," and just flush him down the toilet. Just, dog just keeps bumping on the drain. She gives up. Ends up just shitting on her dog for the rest of her life.